Chapter 4. Another minute ticked by before we stopped, and Gabby pushed aside the towel and said, "You can get out now." I got out next to a large white van with the words Ramirez Commercial Cleaning Services on the side. I felt a chill in the air. A man came around from the back of the van wearing a uniform like Gabby's. He was also Latino, about average height and maybe 30 years old. He was clean-shaven and had dark, medium-length hair parted on the side. "This is my brother, David," Gabby said. I reached out my hand, but he ignored it, grabbed the cart, pulled it toward the back of the van where the doors were open and said, "We need to go." Gabby opened the side door, pulled out a jacket, and handed it to me. It was a black leather motorcycle jacket. "Very nice." I put it on and she said, "Get in, quickly." I climbed inside and closed the door while Gabby got into the passenger seat and David got into the driver's seat. The van had no back seats and was full of cleaning equipment, so I found a space and sat on the floor. As David put the van in drive, Gabby reached behind the seat, grabbed what looked like a tarp, and handed it to me. "Cover yourself," she said. I could see that the exit we were approaching had a gate and a guardhouse, so I put the tarp over me and lay on the floor. We stopped at the gate, and after a brief conversation with the guard, I could see the inside of the van illuminated by a flashlight. I held my breath, and we drove past the gate a few seconds later. I removed the tarp and sat up. "What now?" I asked. "That's a good question," David said while looking at Gabby sternly. "I agreed to help you only because I knew you would be foolish enough to try this alone, but have you thought about the consequences of your actions? We certainly can't go back to work there, and who knows what kind of trouble we will be in with the police." "Relax, David," she said. "We didn't break any laws. If anyone committed a crime, it was Parker. Unless the laws have changed in America, a corporation can't hold people prisoner. Besides, there are many more credible suspects than us." "That may be true," he said, "but Parker is a powerful man with powerful contacts in the government. You should cut this guy loose, or you will be in the same danger as him." "Just stick to the plan, and everything will be fine," Gabby said. "Once you drop us off, go home and act like nothing has changed. If anyone asks, tell them I had to leave to care for poor sick mama." "Wonderful plan, sis. I hope nobody realizes our mother died 16 years ago." A few minutes later, we entered the parking lot of a modern-looking Hilton hotel. I assumed if we were going to hide out, it would be in some seedy hotel. This wasn't the Ritz-Carlton, but it was better than I expected. David stopped by the front doors, and Gabby and I got out. She pulled out a small suitcase from the back of the van. It was a black, soft-sided piece with wheels and a handle that pulled out. I reached out my hand and offered to take it for her. She smiled and handed it to me. I followed her inside while David drove away. We walked up to the front desk, and a young man with pasty white skin and slicked-back dark hair greeted us. I smiled, thinking he might be the son of Dracula. "Good evening, folks," he said. "Can I help you?" "Yes," Gabby said. "We have a reservation for John and Maria Miller." He tapped at his computer and said, "Yes, I have you here. I need your ID and a credit card for the room, please." Gabby handed him her license and credit card, and he said he would be right back and went into the back office, presumably to make a copy of the license. I looked at Gabby and whispered, "Miller?" "My brother has many connections," she said quietly. "You don't think I only needed him to drive, do you?" The man came back and handed Gabby her license. "The total for tonight is $135 plus a $200 deposit that will come off after your stay." "Fine," Gabby said, and handed him a credit card. The man ran her credit card and handed it back to her, along with some paperwork and 2 key cards. "You are in 209. Take the elevator to the second floor and then turn right." We thanked the man and then headed up to the room. It was nice, but basic. It had 2 queen beds and a large television, but no refrigerator. I supposed we wouldn't be there long, so we didn't need it. Gabby put the suitcase on the bed and started to unzip it when I said, "We need to talk." She stopped what she was doing and turned to look at me. She sat on the edge of the bed and said, "I know you must have many questions. Ask me anything." "Why are you helping me?" "Your father was my friend. You may see me as a dumb immigrant who can't do anything but clean office buildings for a living, but I am so much more than that. I have a successful company, and I'm taking classes online to earn a business degree. I interrupted her and said, "Hold on. To be clear, the thought of you being a dumb immigrant never crossed my mind." "I'm sorry," she said. "I guess I get a little defensive because so many people seem to look down on me if they notice me at all. Anyway, my point is, I was interested in your father's work, and he was happy to talk to me about it. I learned a lot about not only what he was doing, but also what others in the company were doing." "Others? You mean Scott Parker?" "Your father wanted to use his research to help people, but when he found out what Parker had planned for the technology, well..." She paused momentarily and said, "I think he just couldn't let it happen. From what I understand, the goal is to duplicate the minds of highly skilled military personnel, like special forces. I imagine it takes many years of extensive and expensive training to produce a Navy SEAL or Green Beret. Now we can produce dozens of them in a few months. I get why Dad would be unhappy about that, and I understand the ethical issues, but I don't know why he would sacrifice his freedom and possibly his life for this. I mean, it seems relatively minor compared to some of the things the government has done in the past. I don't know everything. Perhaps he discovered something even worse, or maybe his values are just different than yours." I felt slightly insulted by that, but I don't think she intended it that way. Perhaps I was less caring than I should have been. I thought that the good outweighed the bad, but I didn't know the extent of the bad. I said, "One thing I don't understand, well, one of many things, is how you knew who I was. I mean, I don't even know who I am right now. I didn't know, not 100%. I learned from your dad what his machine could do. When I saw your name on the chart outside the door, I just put 2 and 2 together. I figured if I were wrong, you would let me know." "Do you know where my father is, Gabby?" "No, I have no idea. His decision to do what he did must have been sudden because he didn't mention anything to me when I last saw him. Do you have any idea?" "No, not really. I don't even know where we are." "We are in a hotel just outside of Fredericksburg, Virginia," she said as she opened her suitcase and handed me some clothes. "These are for tomorrow. They are my brother's, but should fit you." "Do you know where my father lives?" I asked. "He rents a house not too far from here. I'm sure he wouldn't be foolish enough to go there." "What about his house in Florida?" "He told me he is renting it out." Prosody. He wouldn't be able to go there anyway. I'm sure both of those houses have been checked out. Gabby picked up her purse and phone and said, "I need to go out for about an hour. We need supplies." "I'll come with you," I said. I had no desire to be cooped up in a hotel room alone. "I don't think that would be a good idea. They probably don't know you are missing yet, but when they do, you can be sure they will check security cameras. It's best to keep you away from cameras as much as possible." "I'm certain the hotel has me on camera," I said. "Yes, but I'm sure private cameras are not easily accessible like public cameras are." I couldn't argue with that, but I asked, "How will you get there?" "There's a small shopping plaza down the road. It's not too far to walk." After she left, I sat on the bed and took off the shoes that Gabby had given me. My feet felt sweaty without socks on. I looked in the bag and found a pair of socks, so I put them on. I turned on the news, but then had a better idea. I put the shoes back on, put my key card in my pocket, and went to the lobby. At the reception desk, I asked if they had computers for guests to use. He pointed me to a nearby room with 3 computers on a long table against the left wall. Each computer was separated by a divider that gave the user a little privacy. Since the room was empty, I didn't need it. I wanted to learn about myself, or my former self. Hell, I didn't know how to think about my other self. Part of me thought of him as the real me, but deep down, I knew there could only be one me, and he wasn't me. Even so, I wanted to find out more about my wife and kids, which is to say, Alex's wife and kids. It was difficult to know that the woman I loved and the children that should have been mine belonged to another man who was me, and also not me. I typed my name into Google, which returned 16 million results. Surprisingly, there are a lot of people with my name. I looked through the first few pages and decided to go to Facebook. I tried to log in, but Alex changed the password. I wasn't too surprised. Every 6 months or so, there seems to be a significant data breach that causes everyone to change their passwords. Since I was not logged in, I couldn't do much on Facebook. I remembered the address of my profile page and typed it in. It showed some basic information about me, but nothing else. I saw a small profile photo that looked like a professional photographer had taken it. Lisa and I were sitting, each holding a child. I was holding a beautiful, smiling little girl, about 2 or 3 years old, while Lisa was holding a baby, perhaps a few months old. I guessed the photo was at least a year old. Seeing it made me both happy and sad. I remember thinking that I should have asked Parker their names, but I didn't, which made me feel like a terrible father. I closed the browser and got up to head back to my room. While waiting for the elevator, 2 hotel employees walked toward me. One was about 30 with short blonde hair. He was giving instructions to a young man who was 18 at best. They both looked at me as they approached, and the older man said, "Good evening, sir." He looked away and quickly looked back at me excitedly. "John?" he said. "Oh my God, Annie said you disappeared. What happened to you? Where have you been?" I didn't know what to say at that moment. Was this an innocent mistake, or was my body a clone of someone this guy knew? I needed to find out more, but couldn't think of what to say, so I said, "I'm afraid you have me confused with someone else." "I think I would recognize my sister's fiancé," the man said. I looked at his name tag, which read, Michael Hansen, Assistant Manager. "Mr. Hansen," I said, "who exactly do you think I am?" "So that's how we're playing this," he said. "Okay, I think you are exactly Jonathan Thomas. You are, or were, engaged to be married to my sister, Annette Hansen. Or did you forget?" I looked at him for a moment, not knowing what to say. "I get it, John," he said. "You got cold feet, but running away is a coward's way out. It's certainly not what I expected from a former Army Ranger." He shook his head in disgust and walked away. I didn't like that I might have ruined the memory of a man who probably deserved much better. I felt like I should go after him and explain the situation, but what would I say that wouldn't make me look like I was not only a liar, but a crazy one at that? I got back to the room about 5 minutes before Gabby arrived with a couple of bags in her hands. One bag had 4 bottles of water, a box of granola bars, and some bananas. It was not exactly what I expected. I'm not sure why, but when she said she was going out for supplies, I half expected her to return with ingredients to make pipe bombs. She took a small smartphone from the other bag and said, "I got you a phone. It's anonymous, so that no one can track you. This way, we can keep in touch if we get separated." I started feeling a little guilty about everything she had been doing for me and said, "Listen, I very much appreciate what you have done for me, but things could get dangerous, and I wouldn't want something bad to happen to you because of me. Go home. Nobody knows you helped me. Just play dumb. If they question you, tell them the security guard had been acting unusually. Let's talk about this tomorrow," she said. "I think we should get some sleep now. You can have this bed, and I'll take the one by the window." She moved over to the other bed and removed her shirt and pants. She was wearing a sexy white bra and panties that revealed a very fit and almost perfectly shaped form. She caught me looking at her and said, "Don't get any ideas. I have a boyfriend that you don't want to mess with." She then got into bed and turned out her light. "Don't worry, I'm happily married. At least I was yesterday," I said, not knowing what to think about my current situation. I removed my clothes except for my underwear and got into bed too. I usually sleep naked, but it didn't seem appropriate under the circumstances. I turned off my light and said, "Where is your boyfriend now?" "Go to sleep," she said. This audiobook continues on the next video. For more information on this book and others by this author, please visit charleshuss.com.